Baruchim Abayim, and welcome to Torah Talks, Chazaq's Tuesday night program with special guests. Tonight we have with us a very special guest, a very dear friend to Klal Yisrael, to Chazaq, Rabbi Chaim Dovid Zwiebel Shlita. Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem.
How's the Rav doing?
Oh, wow. What an honor to be here.
Honor all hours, bro.
You've been asking me for a couple of days already to try and come on, isn't that true? Actually, a couple of days stretched back how many years?
It's been a while. It's been a while, and we have the zechut and merit to have the rabbi over here at the Chazaq headquarters. It means so much to us. And Baruch Hashem, the rabbi is involved with the Good of Israel of America. We all know the great work that the rabbi and the organization does. But maybe you can give the audience a little background about the rabbi himself. And
well, the rabbi happens to be also an attorney by profession.
Ooh.
So I'm a lefty and righty hitter. I can go either way.
Either way,
right? And I spent a couple of years in Kollel, went to law school, graduated as part of the first graduating class of the Cardozo Law School, which is part of the Yeshiva University network. And I was the editor-in-chief of Volume 1 of the Law Review, which was a big schus for me at that time. Got a job at a very prestigious law firm in Midtown Manhattan, and was there for about 4.5 years. But I decided to leave after about 4 years there, when on Rosh Hashanah I was walking home with my son from shul, and I turned to him and I said, "Sender, what did you have in mind by davening? Right? What were you davening for, Rosh Hashanah?" So he said, "Two things, Tati." I said, "Yeah, what were they?" He says, "The first thing is that Mashiach should come." Oh, beautiful.
what a tzaddik.
Just wait till you hear the second one. The second one was that your office should burn.
Whoa, wow.
Now this is my 8-year-old son who was telling me that, "Tati, I don't see, we're not for Shabbos, I wouldn't be seeing you."
Wow.
So I said to myself, is it really, here I am, I'm Baruch Hashem, earning some money to support my family, but I don't get to see my family.
Oh, wow.
I don't get to see my family. So I said to myself, is this really what I want to do with the rest of my life? And Baruch Hashem, the Eibishter was kind enough and sent to me a message through the offices of Rabbi Shmuel Bloom, who at that time was the executive vice president of the Agudah, the number 2 person to Rabbi Moshe Sherer, Zechariah Lebracha, right?
Of course.
And Rabbi Bloom came to visit me in the office where I worked, in the law office, and we were schmoozing. He was there to raise money. I should give him a contribution and think about coming to the Agudah convention. And we started schmoozing. So he asked me, "What are your plans?" I said, "The truth is, I just had a little incident this Rosh Hashanah with my son, and I'm thinking about the right offer comes up that I'd want to leave and do something a little bit less consuming than what I'm doing." The next thing I knew, a day later, I was invited to Rabbi Sherer's house in Borough Park.
Wow.
And he said, "Would you like to work for the Agudah?" He offered me a job in the Agudah, and they wanted to bring in a lawyer. There was another lawyer on staff at the time. They were looking for a second lawyer, or maybe a first lawyer, whatever the case may be. And Baruch Hashem, goes back to early 1984. So I've been in the Agudah now for 39 years, right?
That's amazing.
And it says, "Arboim yakenu v'lo Yosef," right? You can give a punishment to somebody when he's worthy of punishment, but not more than 40. So right, so we're headed up to there, And I just want to say one other point over here, which describes the difference between our world and the world out there. When word came out that I was going to be making the move from this big law firm, Paul Weiss, Rifkin, Wharton, and Garrison, to the Agudah. So my friends at Paul Weiss at the law firm said, "Wow, what a great, perfect job for you. It's exactly right up your alley. It's perfect for you." And then when they heard about this Borough Park where I was living at the time, the reaction was, "Vus, bist du Meshiga? Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind?" And the answer is both are true a little bit. So in the interest of full disclosure, as we lawyers would say, you're looking for some background about me. I'm a little bit crazy, but
the crazy ones make things happen.
I'm the luckiest man in the world to be able to spend my days and coming home at night with a sense that I'm actually accomplishing something meaningful. I'm serving Klal Yisrael.
Wow, that's an amazing feeling, and that's exactly what we're going to be speaking about as Hashem today. But the question I have for you, Rabbi Zwiebel, working for Agudah gave you an opportunity to see your kids, or you saw? I'm saying I'm involved with the Klal.
So in all honesty, about a year or two after I joined the Aguda, there was a fire in the archives.
Oh.
So, I'm not sure there was ever a fire back at Paul Weiss, but there was a fire in the archives of the Aguda, and shortly after I joined, within a year or two. And I knew, of course, what the source was and why it happened. Nobody else did, but now the world knows.
Okay, so the topic, Rabbi, we're going to be speaking about is empowering change in the world. Talking about the world, we want to change the world. We want to bring the Gula. We want to make a difference. We want to, final redemption. So in order to do that, we need movers and shakers like yourself. So we might think that who am I to get involved and make a difference in the world, get involved with the klal, get involved with the community. Can you please discuss the mentality of how it can be, for one to jump into the waters?
Okay, it's a great question and a very important question.
Yeah.
We in the Torah community, we know that no person lives just for himself, right? That's why there's such an emphasis on marriage in the Jewish community, right? It's lo tov hayos ha'adam levado. It is not good for a person to be on his own, right? He's got to be part of a unit.
So that means whoever is married, that means they did their fulfillment, basically.
Listen to what the Gemara says. The Gemara says, Turnus Rufus Harasha, the wicked Turnus Rufus approached Rabbi Akiva, and he says, if Hashem loves poor people, right? As you say, Hashem loves everybody, right? So he loves poor people too. So how come he doesn't give them food and sustenance? Why are they poor? Right? Good question. So this Turnus Rufus, this wicked, evil Turnus Rufus, was trying to poke Rabbi Akiva and say, look, this is a crazy religion you have. You believe in a God who loves everybody. Then why doesn't he feed the poor? So Rabbi Akiva answered, why he doesn't feed the poor? You know why Hashem makes people poor, and they should have to come on to us in order to save us. Mm-hmm. Those of us who have Hashem is blessed with money, let's say, right? So Hashem, we're going to burn in Gehenna for the averos that we do. In order to be saved from Gehenna, to have the privilege of having Olam Haba, the great rewards of the world to come, in order to do that, we have to have earned it. How do we earn it? By taking the blessing that Hashem gave to us and sharing it with others. So Hashem made you poor, Nabuch, pauper who's knocking at my door and asking for a contribution. Why? Not because it's anything wrong that you did, but it's because he wants me to have an opportunity to have a schus, to have the privilege. Can you imagine what you're sacrificing just so that I can have a privilege? Can you imagine that?
Unbelievable.
But that's what it is. That's the Chazaq teach us this. This is a very important principle. And the truth of the matter is that every single one of us, every single person is both a pauper and the wealthiest person in the world. Every one of us has needs. Right? I mentioned before about a good shidduch, husband and wife. It's a good thing I married my wife because I have no sense of direction. I still, I came here to the studio tonight. I probably would have been who knows where, right? if not for her. And in general, she does so many things that I can't do. Shout
out to the wives.
What? Shout out to the wives.
What would we do with that?
Right? So I am a pauper, and she's wealthy because she knows how to, she knows how to deal with these issues and these problems, right? And she's a wealthy person, so she's giving of her wealth to me. At the same time, I'm a very wealthy person. I have certain skills and talents that Hashem blessed me with. I have certain wealth that Hashem blessed me with. Whatever it may be, something Hashem gave to me that makes me uniquely qualified to help others. Right? So therefore, we have to recognize that we are all interdependent. No person is an island unto himself. We are all interdependent.
Kol Yisrael
Arevim. You know the word Arevim means? Arevim means responsible for one another. Arevim also means intertwined with one another. Mm-hmm. Right? You can't say that something that happens to a Jew over here doesn't impact the Jew over there, because we're all intertwined. Arevim. And then also the word arev means sweet. All Jews are sweet on one another. So we love each other. There's a special love that exists within the members of Klal Yisrael. So yes, here we are in this world. Hashem put us in this world, and He has made us super rich. What for? So that we should be saved, so for the purely selfish reason, so that we should be saved from the punishments that would otherwise come to us by not using the riches to help the poor people. Right? And not using the talents that a person has to help Klal Yisrael. Right? And everybody, you don't have to work for the Aguda to help Klal Yisrael. I mean, it's...
You can work for Chazaq.
That's right.
It doesn't have to be part of an organization. Every single person.
Every single person. You can be involved in a project that relates to your immediate community, to the local neighbor, to your local shul, to your local yeshiva, wherever it may be. 100%. You can get involved. They always need helpers and so on. Or you can get, if you don't like what's going on around the corner, so look around the world. There are things going on around the world today where the kishron of people is necessary, the talents and the skills of people, and the time and the money and all the things that are blessings that Hashem gave them, those are intended for their use in order to help others so that when the time comes, they'll get the rewards and not the opposite.
Beautiful, Rabbi Zwiebel, very inspiring, amazing. So jumping to a which is how does one change their mentality from being an individual who only cares about their own needs into a person who looks beyond themselves for others. So, taking care of us, Shalom and Nafshi, my life is good. My kids go to yeshiva, we keep going. How about others?
Well, this is a question that probably has a dozen or 100,000 answers.
Yeah, definitely. There are on the rabbi's perspective.
A lot of answers of how does one change one's nature. If one's nature is to view the world through the lens of himself and be selfish, right? So first of all, according to the Chazal that we just quoted, with what we learn in the Talmud, right? We see that the rabbis are telling us those you have selfish concerns. You want to make sure that you're going to have olam haba, don't you? Don't you want to have the reward of the world to come, all the beautiful and wonderful things that Hashem has promised to those who keep the Torah, right? You want to do that, right?
Definitely.
Right? You want to do that? You know how to do that? I'm speaking to you selfishly now. Be kind to others. Be kind to others. When you're kind to others, then you are racking up points in your own scorecard. And of course, and as that happens, and as you keep doing it, then your whole perspective changes. And you say, it's not just because for my olam haba that I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I have to help my fellow Jew. Hashem, he's my brother. He's my sister. She's my sister. Right? And I have to do what I can to help them because they're my flesh and blood. Right? There's an amazing thing in this week's Parshas Vayechi, where we learned about how Yaakov Avinu, right, our forefather Yaakov, as he's lying on his deathbed, he calls in all of his sons, all of the Shvatim, the Shiftei Kad, right, the tribes, and they all gather together, and he gives each one a blessing. When it comes to the second and the third sons, Shimon and Levi, right? So he said, Shimon and Levi are going, they were tough guys.
Yeah.
They were tough dudes, Shimon and Levi, and they made a lot of trouble together. They had a lot of trouble together. And Yaakov Avinu said, I'm going to spread them out in Klal Yisrael. I can't keep them together. They have to be separate from each other. Because when they hang out together, they're just going to make big problems. So I'm going to spread them out. And you know what they're going to become? For Shevet Shimon in particular, Rashi says, I'm going to turn them into teachers. Teachers. They're going to go around and go from place to place, and they will be teachers of children. Right now Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky asks, what in the world? These guys have anger management issues, right? You want them to be your kids' teachers, right?
No, I wouldn't mind.
Right? You want a Rebbe who's mellow, who's kind, who's soft. You want a Shimon there who's going to come in, he's going to turn things apart. So you know what he says? It's an amazing thing. He says, yeah, you want Shimon to be your son's Rebbe. You know why? Because Shimon and Levi, when they saw what had happened to their sister Dinah, and they saw how she had been defiled and taken by Shechem, by Hamor ben Shechem, and they went and they killed out the entire city, right? That had done this to their sister. And Yaakov Avinu said, how can you do that? How can you kill them out? You're going to get me in trouble. Right. Shimon and Levi said, Achizon hayasa ezachosenu? We're going to allow our sister to be treated like a harlot? Right? Like a zona? Right? So in other words, they cared about her. And that's why they were called the brothers of Dinah. And Shimon and Levi really cared about her. And they went and they killed out the city. Can you imagine? Killed out an entire city. And Yaakov Avinu wasn't so happy with this. But then they came back and they said, can we allow our sister to become like a zona?
Right.
Never. They cared about their sister.
And that's
the one you want to be your child's Rebbe.
One that cares.
One who says that we're all brothers and sisters, and you got to care about them. And when you care about them, you can't just see their problems and say, how sad, pass the ketchup, please, right? I mean, you can't do that. You got to actually go and do something to help them.
As we say in English, geschmack. Amazing. Geschmack. Very inspiring.
Your English is a high-level vocabulary, I see. That's good. All those rumors about you are not true. I mean,
Gewaldig, mordig. I've been learning. No, very inspiring, Rabbi. Very, very powerful points. We need people that care, and we have to get them involved in the very beautiful chiddush.
And there is the selfish aspect to it also.
You're going to get so much reward.
So much, right?
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Besides that, she's our sister. She's our sister.
About caring. So, Rabbi, once someone is involved in the community's needs, they want to empower others. As one that's involved with the club, Baruch Hashem, Chaz Hashem, we're always trying to get more people to be part of the army. I always see that at all the conventions. Everyone should get involved one way or another. How do we empower others to get involved in the community, Rabbi?
Well, certainly those of us who already are involved, the people who work for the Aguda, the people who work for Chazaq, the people who try and make a difference for the broader community, we all recognize how flimsy our troops, our troop level is. It could be and should be so much larger, right?
Definitely, we definitely need more manpower.
We need 100%. People. Not necessarily, as I said before, not necessarily people who are going to devote the entirety of their day to working for Klal Yisrael, like I'm privileged to do, like you're privileged to do, like I'm sure many of our listeners are privileged to do, but there are lots of people who are not so privileged, and the norm is not to be able to do it the entirety of the day, right. But to find time, to set aside some time to get involved in the area of interest to you, an area where you have talents and skills and so on. And there are ways to do it. The organizations that are out there are looking for people who can be helpful, volunteers, supporters, and so on. So I think it's important for us to spread the message that we need you.
Oh yeah.
We definitely need everyone. Need you. There was a time that the President John F. Kennedy, I'm old enough to remember President John F. Kennedy.
Okay.
You heard rumors that there was such a person.
Yeah, I heard it.
But I remember there was such a person.
I think there's an airport over here, no? JFK or something?
Is that what that stands for?
No.
Look at that. Okay. So President Kennedy said something which, he said a lot of silly things in his life also, but this thing that he said, it was trying to get people to sign up for the Peace Corps. America had something at that time called the Peace Corps, where you go out into, young idealistic college students would go out into the broad world and spread, good peace
love
throughout the world, peace and love throughout the world.
Okay.
Right? So the Peace Corps. And so in making the pitch for the Peace Corps, he said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Right.
And if that's good enough for John F. Kennedy, it surely ought to be good enough for us.
Oh yeah.
We ought to be able to plug into that mentality of asking not only what's good for me and what others can do for me, but what we can do for others. And as I said, there's such an urgent need. There's such a tremendous need. And you know what? We spoke before about Olam Haba. There's no greater Olam Hazeh and the satisfaction that you get.
100%.
This world is in this world where you really feel it. I come home now at night. I used to come home when I was at the law firm many moons ago, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking to myself, so what exactly did I do today? I helped Company A fend off a takeover effort by Company B, and I helped Company C again, who was being charged with an antitrust violation or something like that.
It wasn't fulfilling.
And to my clients, these things meant millions of dollars, and so that was important. But I said, but did I really impact the world? Did I do anything which makes this world a better place? No. And now I come home from the Aguda at night. Most of the time I come home at night. And I think to myself, what did I accomplish today? And I'll remind myself of one frustration and another frustration, because this call work is, when you work for the community, there's a lot of frustrations. But then I'll also tell myself, but look at what I accomplished. I helped protect somebody who was having problems in the workplace in terms of leaving early on Shabbos during the winter months.
For the record, Good has been very helpful with that on a personal level for our constituents over here. We reached out to the office and to the chaver who are amazing.
We helped set up a government program which is going to relieve the tuition burden on some parents. I had a hand in that today. I wrote a legal memo showing why it's constitutionally permissible.
New York?
What? Okay, yeah, I'm just speaking in general.
That'd be amazing. Tuition relief will be used, especially for the work
Sure.
I know there's been many discussions.
But these are the kinds of things that we need. We need professionals, and we need people who are care to get involved. And we speak about lawyers, my own profession. Now we have a network of a couple of hundred lawyers that that are part of our database. And when a case comes in which requires representation, or requires the filing of a brief, or requires helping an organization become tax exempt, and all of the things that are part and parcel of our community, then we'll reach out to this network of lawyers. And they, many times they're not able to help, but very often they will say, yes, I want to do work pro bono. The profession encourages it, and more to the point, I know I'm going to love it. One of the reasons I decided to come to the Aguda after 4.5 years at Paul Weiss was because at Paul Weiss I was involved in a case like that, helping a Jewish community institution in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and I felt that it was fulfilling, meaningful. I'm doing something with my life that really matters. You want to have that feeling? Get involved.
Whoever is involved with communal things with faith, God Almighty will pay us back. Off topic a little bit, you mentioned John F. Kennedy, and I know Aguda is very, very much involved with political advocacy. Okay. On a personal level, I am as well. And sometimes people that are not so much involved question, I have a picture of you here with this person and with that person, and they degrade the fact that we're politically active. If we could just touch on that topic a little bit about the importance of it on a personal level, the amount of yeshivot and the amount of organizations, the amount of individuals that we've helped through our contacts in government offices has been tremendous. Right. But I know that Aguda is on the same page as well.
You've answered your own question beautifully.
Rabbi Silver guides me a lot. Shout out to him from Aguda about these topics, but we can hear from the rabbi a little bit on the topic of government.
So since you changed the topic slightly, let me do the same.
Yeah, please. You're Jewish, right? Question on a question.
There you go. And say the following. That please don't listen, don't eavesdrop, because I'm speaking to your listeners now, not to you.
Okay.
Okay. And what I want to tell your listeners is that we look for talented, skilled people to help us in the work that we try to do, and there are few people anywhere who can hold a candle to my friend who's not eavesdropping on what I'm saying right now.
Let's change the topic.
Serves you right. It serves you right, but it really is tremendously helpful when you come and when you bring along some people to our Albany missions.
Albany, Washington, Eretz
Yisrael. That's right, even Eretz Yisrael. That's right. Yeah. So this has always been one of the hallmarks of the Jew in Golos, right, and the Jew in the diaspora, right, and the relationships with the local governments or the national governments have always been very, very important, and some of our greatest Talmidei Chachamim and Tzaddikim and Rosh Yeshiva and Hasidic Rebbes and all the greatest leaders of our time were also what we call Shtadlanim, advocates, and they would develop relationships. They would appoint people to develop relationships with the government leaders, because you need to come on to the government leaders. And it's interesting. People ask me how can they make a difference in the political work that we do. Right? And I say, did you vote in the last election? And sometimes the answer is nah, because
what difference does it make anyway?
What's the big deal?
Yeah. What's the big deal?
What's the big deal?
We get that all the time.
Right now, there is an assemblywoman in the Far Rockaway area who is involved in an election campaign, and the voting took place in early November, and here we are. We're into January already, right? And as of this taping of our program, she hasn't been declared the winner or the loser, because
one vote,
there's a discrepancy between her and her opponent of one vote.
Wow.
This particular assemblywoman, the incumbent, is somebody who has made a world of difference for our community, for the community, the Jewish community in Far Rockaway, and more broadly as well.
Yeah.
And you know, what can you do? You can do the minimum that the Gedolei Yisrael tell us all we should do, which is to show that you care. So either you'll be that one vote that's going to make a difference in an election, or even if not, even if the difference between the candidates is 50,000 votes or 100,000 votes or 1,000,000 votes, doesn't matter, because when the politicians look at communities, they know how many people vote. They know what percentage of the community came out. They
pay attention.
They pay attention, right? Because you know, I'm knocking at your door, and I'd like you to listen to what I have to say. I once was, early on in my career at the Aguda, I testified in the United States Senate over an important bill that was being introduced at that time, which could have had a very negative impact on some of our yeshivas. So I got there as you know, and I was before the Senate Labor and Education Committee, and I gave a 10-minute speech about why this bill is a dangerous bill, and I spoke about the Supreme Court precedents, and I spoke about the civil rights laws, and I spoke about all the different things. A very nice lawyerly presentation. And when I was done, I was very proud of myself. I said, since this is what I used to do with Paul Weiss, and nice to do it again, right? And then Senator Metzenbaum from Ohio, who was the chairman of the committee, says, "Thank you, Rabbi, for your presentation. Tell me, how many members does your organization have?" Senator Metzenbaum was not interested in the Supreme Court precedent or the civil rights laws or the statutes. He just wanted to know, do you represent a community that I should pay attention to? Why should I pay attention to you? Right? So the answer is, if we vote in large numbers, or if you join our organization as a member in large numbers, right, which we try to get membership, right, that enhances our ability to get the Senator Metzenbaums of the world to listen to us, to hear what we have to say, and to address the concerns that we have. So anyway, we need people to get involved, even at that minimal level, but there are so many other ways to get involved. And start at Tamu Uru'u Kitov. You taste it and you'll see it's great.
100% definitely. You should just invited the senator to the Siyam Mashas that Aguda puts together. About 100,000 people. It's unbelievable.
You bet.
But very, very inspiring, Rabbi. I appreciate you reiterating the importance of being active, politically active, and how do you say it? Shadlanas?
You're close. Well, I'll speak to you off camera. We'll work on it a little bit.
We'll work on it together. Okay.
Shadlanut.
Okay.
Shadlanut.
Very nice. Amazing, Rabbi. We have a minhag, a custom on Torah Talks, which is one final message that you could give over to us, one last takeaway. So many amazing insights, and we appreciate it.
So I guess my final message is this. I told you how it came to be that I joined the Aguda, right? And I came to visit Rabbi Moshe Scherer, and he offered me a position at the Aguda. And so, but I told him, before I accept or anything, I'd like to come and see what the convention is like. I'd never been to a convention before. It's what I go to a convention. So I came to the convention. I was sitting in the audience, and there were a couple of hundred people around sitting in the audience, right? And people with, with wearing hats, and some of them wearing big black velvet yarmulkes, and some of them wearing kippot sugot.
The whole gamut.
And I looked around, and then I looked up at the head table, at the dais, right? And there I saw, Hasidic Rebbes, and Litvish Rosh Yeshiva, and Sfardi Chachamim, and again, the full range on display of people who are Gedolei Torah, who are people who are great Talmidei Chachamim.
I've had the zchut and merit to be there many times, and I've witnessed it myself.
And people who we look to for leadership. These are the true leaders of the world. But there, as I'm sitting over there within this audience, this crowd, looking up at a dais filled with these great rabbis from all different backgrounds, and I said to myself, you know what? I'm part of Klal Yisrael. I always knew it intellectually that I was part of Klal Yisrael. But it was at that moment when I had this job offer dangled in front of me. Should I come to work for the Aguda? I give up the nice salary I was earning, and I said, I'm part of Klal Yisrael. It's much more than my immediate circles of family and shul and so on, neighborhood, community. It's that to a very, very great extent, but it's much more than that. It's Klal Yisrael. It's everything. It's everywhere, right? And if you're part of it, right, this is your family, then you have to give back to it a little bit, right? And that's why I decided to take the position. So I wish all of the listeners, watchers, the
Get
listeners,
involved.
right? Please recognize you're part of Klal Yisrael. You're not an island unto yourself. Klal Yisrael needs you, and you need Klal Yisrael. Get involved.
Amazing, Rabbi Chaim Dovid Zwiebel Shlita. What an amazing inspiration to get involved, to empower change in the world. Let's empower others. Let's empower ourselves. And we want to thank you for all that you do for Klal Yisrael, for the Jewish people, for everything. Unbelievable. Yagdi Torah, continued Hatzlacha.
Amen.
And we want to remind our amazing audience every single Tuesday night, Chazaq Torah Talks with special guests, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Special shout out to the Chazaq team over here, Rabbi, Natan, the other Natan, and Mayor, and Izzy, and everyone involved. Really appreciate the supporters and the board members and the staff and the volunteers. Shout out to Torah Anytime for hosting this amazing podcast, along with all the other podcast platforms. dailygiving.org, the holiday goes a very far way. We want to thank them as well. And we should be Zacheh, we should merit to see the Geulah Shema, the complete redemption. It should come by Merav, and speaking our days.
Amen.
Amen. Chazaq Baruch Yeshakach.
Amen.